welcome back to another one of my YouTube videos. Today it's Guitar Secrets time, and actually when I started the Guitar Secrets series, the original plan behind us was to feature unsung guitar heroes, i.e. guitar players who were either very influential or very innovative, but don't get the fame they deserve and are not talked about as often as the classical guitar heroes of past and present. And actually, when I flipped through my record collection a few months ago, I rediscovered a band that perfectly fits into this concept. The pioneers of the shoegaze genre, Slowdive. So I decided to do a video on Slowdive, focusing on the guitar player Neal Halstead, who's also the singer of the band, kind of the mastermind of the band. And to make this episode even more focused, I'm going to focus on one Slowdive album only, Souvlaki, which is now regarded as essential listening and pioneering in the shoegaze genre, but was kind of overlooked when it came out in the early 90s. Just a few words on Slowdive and shoegaze in general. That was a short-lived phenomenon just before Britpop arose. Actually, shoegaze is a very funny term to describe the genre, because most of the musicians kept looking at their shoes when performing, as they had so many effects pedals they had to operate, and so they couldn't look into the audience because they had to focus on their pedal board. And that was how the term shoegaze was coined for kind of reflective and effects-laden indie pop of the early 90s. Actually, it wasn't easy to prepare this video. I did some research on Slowdive. Slowdive had a huge comeback just a few years ago, but then again, it's kind of hard to make out the guitar parts from the records, because there are so many layered guitar parts on Souvlaki that it's very hard to concentrate on one alone. I then watched a few live performances and found a great video of a live performance by Slowdive in 2019 here on YouTube, which I took as a secondary source to the record I just showed you, and I hope I heard everything correctly. It was pretty hard. So be forgiving if I make any mistakes or if what I play is not 100% accurate. I had a hard time in finding out the guitar parts, actually. Yeah, but I think that is enough ado. So yeah, let's dive into the guitar secrets of Slowdive. The first concept I would like to talk about I call fake bar chords. Of course, this is not a general term in guitar theory, but when I watched the Slowdive live videos, I saw that Neal doesn't play bar chords traditionally the way we all do, like this. Instead, he omits the bar and keeps these two strings B and E open, and then these chords sound something like this. And that is typical of him. You can hear it in the song Allison, first track on Souvlaki. It goes like this. And if you now take a look into these chords as to how they work, you get something like this. You get a G major chord on the first four strings. And then along comes another B, which is diatonical. And here, the E, which is a 6. So you get G major 6, actually. And if you move that 2 frets up, you get an A major chord. And again, you add a B and an E. This time the E is diatonical and the B can be regarded as an added ninth. So you get A add ninth. And if you even move that up 2 steps further, you get a B major chord. And again, on these 2 strings, B and E. And well, this time the B again is diatonical as it's the root of the chord, but you have the E, which can be regarded as an additional 11, so you have B at 11. And if you now listen to the excerpt from Allison very closely, you will have noticed, well, that chord is not in. But it's in another song. If you listen to When the Sun Hits from Souvlaki, there is a guitar which is usually not performed live. You can make it out and it goes something like this. And there he makes use of the G6 chord I just showed you. You can expand this concept if you just move the bar shape along the fretboard without barring the chords. You could, for example, move it to C, and then you have this chord. And here the B would be a major 7, so you have something like C major 7 here. You can also move it downwards to F, and then you have something like this. That's actually hard to determine. You've got a major 7 with the E, and you've got a flat 5th with that one. And you get that chord. You can also move it very high up the fretboard, like to here, then you get D6. With an additional 9, I think. I'm calculating this on the fly, so be forgiving if I make mistakes. So actually that is a cool concept Slowdive use a lot. You might want to incorporate into your playing when you're experimenting with shoegaze guitar. When researching and preparing this video, I also listened to a few other bands from the shoegaze genre, to indie music, early 90s in general, and there's something actually which struck my mind. Many songs have the same dramatic contrast in them, having quite, well, quiet verses which are contrasted with loud choruses, and so does Slowdive. If you look at When the Sun Hits, we just looked at the tune, and if you watch the live footage, in the verses Neal goes. And then he sings very gently over this little riff. And when the chorus hits, it goes something like this. And then Rachel also joins in on guitars. They have 3 guitars running in the chorus and everything, and that is a whole lot louder, and that creates certain dynamic contrast, which was very common to the music at that time, not even in the slow, in the shoegaze genre, but also in other indie music as well. Very popular early 90s stuff. So if you're planning on adding some 90s indie elements to your music, that might be something you want to consider. The last thing I'm going to show is something very easy, but also something very important. If you listen to Slowdive, if I listen to the live performances, but on the record also, you've got certain little melodies which are thrown into songs, mostly after the chorus or in the chorus themselves, which are really catchy. And I want to demonstrate that using 40 Days. The underlying chord sequence is like something like that. Yeah, if you watch my fingers, just D and E. And then Neal plays a little melody, heavily affected, which goes like this. And this melody is very catching on the one hand, but on the other hand it's also very emotional and kind of carries the tune for me. It comes after each chorus, and it's really, it's a little bit melancholic, but it's also upfront, a little bit upbeat. It's kind of something which is very emotional about the playing, which really gets me as a listener, and I think that is the point of good pop music. he constructs them by kind of mirroring the chords which are beneath them. You can see that if you watch live footage of When the Sun Hits, where in the chorus he goes something like... Well, here you got 5 notes, but they're all on the same string. So actually these are very, very easy little melodies. And if you put them into strategically important places in the song, they will have maximum effects on the leaders and listeners. And I think that this is something which is very important when playing guitars. I mean, I've never seen Neal doing long solos where he does flashy things on the fretboard and everything. He just takes a few notes, and these new note choices are so intelligent that they really help the song forward. And that is something I find very hard when playing guitar. I mean, having maximum effects with a minimum of notes, and not just like going all over the fretboard, boring everybody to death who's not into guitar playing or who's not a guitar player. And that is something Neal knows very well. These little riffs, they stay in your ear. I mean, when I was rehearsing this video, I just had this little melody in my head. It wouldn't go away. Kind of got an earworm from it, and that is always a good sign that a guitar player has found the right thing. And the point is not to show the audience how technically apt you are, but to make great music. Yeah, as usual, a few words on sounds, tone and equipment. Close the video. You could talk about shoegaze guitar tones all day. You could write scientific papers about them, actually. You need a lot of effects. You need to have a lot of reverb and delay and everything. Just shortly, what did Neal use when he recorded Souvlaki? We don't know exactly, as it's not documented very well, but if you look at rig diagrams on the internet or browse along forums, some pedals are named which he used. He had 2 Boss delay pedals in a row, which he set to different times, one feeding into the other, which made these big rooms, which he has also when he plays live. He used a Boss overdrive pedal and also a Proco Red pedal for the overdrive and distortion sounds. The Proco Red giving him the hard fizzy distortion, and the Boss overdrive pedal rather the crunchy sounds. He fed all of this into 2 Roland Jazz Chorus amplifiers, solid state amplifiers made popular by the likes of The Cure or other new wave players, which definitely are kind of idols to Neal when I listen to his playing or his music in general. And his guitar is an Epiphone Casino these days. He used Rickenbackers and Telecasters back in the 90s, but when you go to a Slowdive concert these days, you will see him playing an Epiphone Casino. Very sadly, I couldn't go to the last Slowdive concert. It was just around the corner here in Cologne, but I was ill with COVID-19, so I couldn't go. I missed out on them, which made me very sad, but also a little bit inspired me to do this video. So yeah, if you want to somewhat achieve the shoegaze sound or the Slowdive sound, I would recommend get a solid state amplifier. If you can, get Roland Jazz Chorus, brilliant amplifiers these are. You will need lots of reverb. That was actually added in the studio afterwards by using rec units. There was a radio show in Germany just a few weeks ago which concentrated on the production of Souvlaki, where they had interesting information about that. Yeah, you will need a dirty pedal for the loud choruses and a crunchy pedal for, well, general overdriven stuff, and the 2 delays I think are mandatory. If you look at Equipboard, there is talk that he uses the pedal version of the Roland Space Echo these days. Yeah, these actually give you kind of 2 signals, 2 delay signals, and that's actually what I used as well when I created the Helix preset, which is freely downloadable on Custom Tone. Link is in the video description. Yeah, that's all for today. Thank you very much. If you've liked the video, well, drop me a like. Maybe you want to subscribe to my channel. I'd be very grateful if you did so. And until the next time, have fun playing guitar.